Hello, my dears. My name is Joanna, and I'll welcome you to Johanna Taconis, the Deconstruction of C-PTSD podcast. In this episode, we will talk about survivor's guilt, a topic I so far skipped over as I was affected by it myself. But during my healing process from it, I made some discoveries and learned to better understand it. So let us talk about it. As I mentioned before, I was affected by survivor's guilt. One more time since I started this podcast. I am glad I waited, because while I cured myself from it, I learned quite a bit from it, but to that in a bit. What is survivor's guilt? Simplified, you feel guilty for surviving, and that is often accompanied with strong depression and the thought process of being undeserving of living. Last time, episode 84, where I covered it, it was for validation and finding purpose as Band-Aid. Now we will focus on what it is. As always, if you feel like I skipped over something or haven't answered your question in this regard, please feel free to contact me. First, we talk about surviving, then witnessing, then why you might struggle, and lastly, what one should do. We start with talking about surviving. This is when you survive something that you theoretically shouldn't have. That can be an operation, a sickness, cancer, or whatever. I call it surviving and the other witnessing because you often don't really see the others. You know what they're going through, you met likely several along the way, or witness others not going well. Not the whole thing, but glimpses into it. That is what happened to me and was my variant. I knew and was aware, but didn't really witness it. That can also include animals, severe harm, and suffering in a general sense. No one needs to actually die. But of course, the severity of the survivor's guilt is affected by it. Then there is witnessing, which means you saw and were present when it happened. That can go from a close one dying, a crime like a robbery, to a soldier losing fellow soldiers. Once again, this can include animals or harm being inflicted. As usual, the bigger the traumatic experience, the stronger the survivor's guilt and symptoms. An important factor is also if you feel like you could have done something in the state you were in, and if you had any responsibility, be it as a medic or leader. The range is incredible, and if you want me to go in greater detail, please let me know. You might have already guessed why you might struggle with solving it. It turns out that survivor's guilt is strongly connected to a trauma and cannot be resolved, in my experience, until the trauma was dealt with or the part of the trauma it was connected to. Especially if you were in any form responsible, be it as a medical person or a leader or in whatever shape or form. Then the guilt is strongly interwoven with the trauma structure, at least as far as I can tell and read in other experiences. So one could call survivor's guilt a PTSD symptom, for a specific group of trauma at least, which shows there's a lot more to learn how exactly traumas are shaped. In base, what one should do depends strongly if you were responsible or not. If you were responsible for the other's passing, then that is a regular trauma and should get treated accordingly. So you should make sure you were and not just assume you were. Depression and PTSD can play a strong trick on the mind and want you to believe it. If you were, then this falls under the guilt and responsibility section, and you are looking likely at a ring trauma. So this is an own separate topic. If you were not responsible, it is theoretically simple. Except you are not responsible for what happened to them, and that the survival of others is not your responsibility to make up for it. Some people reject all form of responsibility, while others put the world on their shoulders. Both is not a healthy response. Because if we overload ourselves, we just drown ourselves and in the end greatly harm ourselves. We are responsible for ourselves, for our own actions and what we do. I am not responsible for your PTSD, but I'm here to help you because I believe it is the right thing to do. I feel it is my responsibility to use my talent and knowledge in this regard. But if you refuse to do anything to get better, then that is on you. I can't make you, and it isn't my responsibility. But if you are willing, then I will help you achieve this goal, but not to the detriment of my own life or well-being. That is the conclusion I arrived at. Every story is, of course, different, but I do strongly recommend trying to turn it into something positive and productive. It greatly increases your life quality and those around you. That was it for today's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Hope you are safe and well. And as always, if you have any questions or feedback and the like, please let me know at contactme@johannatakonis.com. More information and transcript you can find as usually under johannatakonis.com, and links are in the description. I hope to see you next time. Watch yourselves and have a wonderful time.